It's the Friday wrap on WNIN FM. I'm John Gibson. Glad you could join us for the program today. Well, as you may know, this month of June is Pride Month, and Evansville's River City Pride Festival was held this past weekend. As WNIN's Tim Jagielo reports, this year was marked by a potentially more hostile political environment for the Pride community, but with support from places that some might not expect.
These are members of a church marching down Main Street in Evansville during the recent River City Pride Parade. Specifically, they're with the Unitarian Universalist Church of Evansville. Their white hats read, "On the Side of Love."
And, and we believe, you love who you love, and that it's all okay.
This is church member Steve Ford.
It's illegal. Women's rights are human rights. All genders are holy and good. That's basically who we are.
They were one of 6 churches or religious organizations taking part in River City Pride Fest 2025, held June 7th in downtown Evansville. Some were participating in the parade, some were running a booth, and some did both. For the first time, Encounter Church opened their doors during the parade, offering water and a restroom. Don Schwindel is current president of River City Pride. She says the most pronounced difference between 2024 and 2025 is the current political and legislative climate surrounding the LGBTQIA+ community.
Shifting towards increased scrutiny and backlash from conservative groups, businesses that are pulling away from DEI initiatives, and the MAGA movement. So those, all sort of collecting has definitely, I think, made this year different from prior years. I think that the way that church and religion play a role in supporting our community is, just to extend love. I think when you read the Bible or you research the Bible, the most common word throughout the entire Bible is love. And I think just, expressing that in a non-judgmental, in a tolerant way, compassionate way is what we would like to see from our churches.
Got some temporary tattoos, some stickers, little fidgets. Those are for y'all, so grab a snack if you.
Michelle Rundle and husband Matthew are with Bethany Christian Church at their Main Street booth. John Rich is an elder at Bethany Christian Church.
So we are to be a big, diverse group that represents the fullness of God and Christ and all that diversity and the love of Christ. And I think that means being completely inclusive.
Rich also feels that things are more hostile toward the Pride community in 2025.
I think that we are seeing policies and social movements that are becoming more vehement in their anti-LGBTQ stance, and very particularly trans folks, because it seems like they are really being targeted by certain parts of the administration, the political establishment, and so I think their safety and inclusion is a big part of what we need to be doing in 2025.
It's also about financial support. Again, Don Schwindel.
We have 32 sponsors, 116 vendors, 13 food trucks.
Despite solid numbers, she says 2025 also brought 10 fewer sponsors or advocates because of the political climate.
I think you have some businesses out there that are certainly, leery from a funding perspective, and then I think, you've also got some businesses out there where it's easier to take a step back now, given the things that are going on legislatively. So
these are all serious concerns, but she says as a whole, the Evansville community, including city government, remains supportive. For WNIN News, I'm Tim Jagielo.
And Tim joins us now here in the studio. Tim, as always, thanks for coming in.
Always fun to be here.
Good to have you. Well, let's start with a basic question. Why a Pride Festival?
This goes back to the mission of River City Pride, which is to unite, educate, serve the LGBTQIA+ community overall. Yeah. So, Pride Month was, for them, launched with the Pride Parade, And, the goal of the festival is to celebrate, identities, remember those who fought for the rights that are currently enjoyed, and advocate for continued progress toward, equity. Basically, she said, of course, Dawn said, this is very important in 2025.
Yeah. You mentioned Don Schwindel talked about a different legislative climate for the Pride community this year. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Well, and I did a story about this earlier where the city council, Evansville City Council, failed to take up, an ordinance that would have protected gender affirming care. Mm-hmm. And while there wasn't enough support to bring it up for a first reading and eventually a vote, they did express support for the community in general. They just couldn't bring it up, for a vote. So we did that story, and that is kind of where we are right now as a country. That's what people are talking about, which is legislation concerning trans people. And so, and again, when we talk about gender affirming care, that's a range of psychological behavior and medical interventions to support individuals, their gender identity. And I didn't make that up. That was from the World Health Organization. Mm-hmm. But, nationally, according to translegislation.com, in 2025 alone, there have been 923 anti-trans bills. And so these are laws seeking to block trans people from basic health care, education, legal recognition, and the right to publicly exist. Right. And so they have the ticker on their website where basically they can tell you what's going on now. So there's 723 active laws that are, they're not passed or not passed. They've just been introduced. Right. 113 have been passed and 78 have failed. There's a very convenient map. You can just click right on Indiana and see that there have been 17 anti-trans bills introduced and 4 have passed. And they've mostly hinged on parental rights and also sports. So in other words, competing only in the sport of your assigned sex at birth. Right,
exactly. Now, I attended the Pride Fest. I thought it was a great turnout. Weather was a little iffy. There was some rain around. But as I understand, in your report, you mentioned that fewer sponsors this year. Is that something we're seeing in other places as well?
It's very widespread. And it's something that wasn't, I guess I'm naive enough that I didn't think about that happening as well concerning the crackdown on DEI initiatives, offices within corporations, offices within colleges. But yes, it is widespread. The Conservative Heritage Foundation just today released a piece called "Corporate Sponsors Are Pulling Back from Pride." And essentially it's for the same reasons that were mentioned in the report. The climate, legal concerns, things like that. Sure. Gravity Research did a survey in April of corporate executives, and they found that 39% plan to reduce Pride-related engagement in 2025. One caveat to say is that, and 65% of them are already preparing for the backlash for not participating.
I see.
Yeah, and 61% of those executives polled did cite the Trump administration specifically for this change.
I see. Well, now let's get back to the support from church communities. How do these, I guess you'd have to call them progressive churches, deal with some of the more conservative aspects of the Bible? Did they give you any information about that?
Well, I did ask John Rich about that. And to back up, of course, every church is going to have a different theology on what the text is. Some will say, well, it's there in black and white, so that's what we have to believe. Some will say, well, that's what it says, but we still love everybody. You're still welcome, but we still have to stick to that. John Rich offered a couple of responses when I asked him about this, and he said that, one thing he said was, in his view, the Bible was written at a particular time and place for a particular group of people, and we can just move past that because of that. In number 2, he said he believes regarding same-sex relationships, the original text or intent could never have thought of or included the idea of 2 men, for example, having a household, living in a community, adopting children, and it just wasn't even on their radar, so to speak, back then.
Yeah.
And so Also, just the idea now of what includes the LGBTQIA plus community, a lot of these things just did not, and people as a concept did not exist back then. And so we don't need to interpret those words relating to them today.
I see. Well, again, as I say, it was a very, very big turnout. I thought the festival was looking just good, and so there's a very, very interesting angles and information you've learned here. Is there anything else to add that we haven't touched on?
Well, I could talk about a little bit more about corporate sponsorship dropping off, because I've got that this is I don't know what the budget was for River City Pride. Dawn didn't want to tell me, and it's her right, of course, to not tell me how much they lost due to these sponsors. But other organizations such as St. Louis Pride mentioned large sponsors dropping out completely. Anheuser-Busch dropped out completely, literally saying because they didn't see the value in this relationship anymore. So they've stepped out. Wow. A lot of large organizations experience historically low turnout, or not turnout, but sponsorship. And this is according to a marketplace report, I think either from today or yesterday. And so larger pride organizations are losing hundreds of thousands of dollars due to corporate cuts. And some of them are starting to charge for tickets instead of making them free. Large organizations that did not contribute are MasterCard, Pepsi, Comcast. They've not contributed to Pride funds this year.
I see. Well, that is WNIN's Tim Jagielo. Tim, thank you for all your work and all the information you were able to dig up there. We certainly appreciate that.